We hadn't just risked our reputations. We'd risked jail. We'd burned relationships. We'd buried every part of ourselves that still believed in truth. And for what? A billion-dollar valuation. I made my first million by lying. Now someone knows the truth. Part 1. The pitch that changed everything. I don't know who's reading this, or if you'll believe me, but I need to get this off my chest before it's too late. I'm 32 years old, technically a millionaire, live in a high-rise in Miami with ocean views and an espresso machine that costs more than my mom's first car. The suits are tailored, the watch is real, and my LinkedIn profile? A masterpiece in curated half-truths. But it's all built on a lie. One pitch, one meeting, one moment that snowballed into a life I can barely control. And now, someone's threatening to expose everything. Let me tell you how it started. 4 years ago, I was broke. Like ramen and tap water broke. I was couch surfing in LA after losing my third job in a row, laid off from a marketing agency after the founder got caught using company funds to pay for escorts. I had a liberal arts degree, a resume full of meaningless buzzwords, and exactly $128 in my checking account. The desperation was starting to taste metallic. Every day felt like falling down a well and hitting every rung on the way down. Then, I met Casey. She was this force of nature. Gorgeous, loud, fast-talking, always chewing gum like she was grinding her frustration into it. We met at a networking event I almost didn't go to because I couldn't afford gas. She was pitching this startup idea to a group of VCs, some AI platform that helped mid-sized businesses optimize their operations using predictive algorithms, or something. I didn't understand half the buzzwords, but I could tell one thing: she could sell. After the event, we grabbed a drink, talked for hours. Turns out, she was broke too. The startup was barely real. She had no product, no prototype, just a vision board and some mock-ups she'd made in Canva. But she had something I didn't. A plan. "I'm gonna get one of these dumbass VCs to throw money at me," she said, sipping her tequila soda. "And when they do, I'll build the damn thing after." What if they ask to see it working? That's why I need you. I blinked. Me? You look like a developer. You talk like you know tech. And you're desperate enough to lie. She wasn't wrong. That night, in her tiny studio apartment with a shower curtain for a bedroom door, we started building Pharos AI. Or rather, the illusion of it. We made slide decks. Demos that looked real but weren't. Used Figma to build a UI that responded to fake data we pre-entered. Built a site that promised seamless integration, real-time insights, and cutting-edge predictive modeling. I wrote fake testimonials. She created a waitlist. It was all smoke and mirrors. But it looked real. And that's all we needed. Within a month, she got a meeting with Westbridge Capital. Let me explain something about VCs. They're not as smart as they want you to think. Half of them are riding trends, scared of missing the next unicorn. If you sound confident and hit the right buzzwords, they'll throw money at you just to hedge their bets. We walked into the boardroom like we'd done it 100 times. Casey did most of the talking. I was the CTO. Played the quiet genius, the guy too deep in the tech to be social. I answered a few technical questions with jargon I half understood, smiled like I was hiding a billion-dollar secret. They loved it. By the end of the week, we had a term sheet for $1.5 million in seed funding. No due diligence, no prototype testing, just raw, unearned confidence. Here's where it gets messy. We figured we'd use the money to build the actual product, hire real engineers, turn the dream into reality. After all, isn't that what startups do? Fake it till you make it? But the money changed things. Casey wanted to lease a Tesla. Said it would help maintain the image. I rented a downtown loft and bought new clothes. We started flying to tech conferences, pretending to be further along than we were. The lie grew faster than the company. Meanwhile, the product barely moved. Every dev we hired eventually quit, either frustrated by the vague direction or spooked by the smoke and mirrors nature of it all. But we kept getting more money. Series A, Series B. By the time we raised $18 million, we were too deep to back out. I told myself I'd fix it, that we'd eventually build something real. But the lie was feeding us, so we let it grow. Then I got the first email. It came from a burner address. No subject, no body, just a single attachment. A screenshot of one of our mock-ups from before we got funded. One we never published. The caption, "This was never real, I know." I froze. Casey thought it was a bluff. Could be anyone, some jealous dropout. Ignore it. But 2 days later, I got a second email. This time, it was a photo of me, outside the Westbridge office the day of the pitch. Caption, "Want to guess how many people would love to know?" That night, I couldn't sleep. The empire we built on nothing was about to collapse. Part 2. The Blackmailer. The third email came 2 days later. No text, just a Dropbox link. I hovered over it for almost an hour, hands slick with sweat. My heart was in my throat. The room was dark, and even the soft glow of my MacBook screen felt too bright, like a spotlight on a confession I hadn't yet said out loud. I clicked it. There were videos. Not just one. Dozens. Screen recordings. Internal Slack messages we thought had been deleted. Footage of us staging demo walkthroughs. Casey walking a fake client through a product that didn't exist. Me typing code into a terminal that wasn't connected to anything. Worst of all, a clip from the Westbridge pitch. Not the official one. This was us practicing it in my old apartment. Casey saying, "We just have to keep the bullshit straight." Then she laughs. I felt my stomach drop. Whoever this was, they had everything. And they wanted something. At the bottom of the Dropbox folder was a text file. Simple instructions. Transfer $250,000 in crypto to the address below. You have 7 days. If not, every VC, every investor, every publication, every client will get everything. I read it 5 times before my knees gave out and I slid to the floor. Casey didn't panic like I did. She paced around my loft, chewing a pen cap like it was someone's ear. "They're bluffing," she said, again and again. "They don't want to kill the golden goose. They want to shake us. We don't pay, they'll flinch." I wasn't so sure. I asked her how they could have gotten the files. She hesitated, just for a second. "We never had proper security," she said. "Hell, I emailed that Dropbox link to you from my personal Gmail. Maybe someone was watching. But it didn't feel right. It felt internal, close. The timing, the access. Someone on the inside was bleeding us dry. I started watching everyone. Our head of product, Luke, had been there since month 3. Brilliant guy. Too brilliant, maybe. He was always quiet during meetings. Never asked about roadmaps. Always left early. Then there was Jaya, the operations lead. She'd recently asked to see our full compliance stack. When I asked why, She just said, curiosity. Even our legal guy, Marcus, he once joked, if anyone ever knew how we got started, we'd be in jail. I couldn't trust any of them. Every face looked like a threat now, and the countdown was ticking. By day 5, I was unraveling. Paranoia was sinking its claws in deep. I barely slept. Every ping on my phone sounded like a death knell. I tried tracking the email IPs, spoofed, routed through 3 continents. The Dropbox folder? Created using a premium account under the name Lars Burnett, a name that didn't exist online. They knew what they were doing. The morning of day 6, I transferred the money. Casey flipped. You idiot! We're rewarding them. Now they'll just come back. Maybe she was right. But I couldn't take the risk. Not with this much at stake. I watched the wallet register the payment. Confirmed. Then, silence. No email, no confirmation, nothing. Day 7 came and went. Nothing happened. No leak, no news articles, no angry calls from our board, no deleted accounts, nothing. It worked. But I didn't feel relief. Because now the real question gnawed at me. Who knew? A week later, I hired a private investigator. Discreet. Cash up front, no paper trail. I gave him the Dropbox folder, the burner email headers, the crypto transaction. Asked him to find anything. IP traces, usernames, linked activity. He called me 3 days later. You're not going to like what I found. Try me. He paused. You know a Cameron Lee? My chest tightened. Cameron was our first intern. Worked for us back in the Figma and fake demo days. A kid from Caltech with a chip on his shoulder and a photographic memory. He'd been around for everything. But he'd quit after 3 months, said he couldn't handle the chaos. Apparently, he never really left. My stomach twisted. I thought he was gone, just another intern who burned out. Turns out, he'd been archiving everything from the inside. Pulling copies of our demo files. Recording meetings on a second laptop. Even downloaded copies of Casey's decks from her personal drive folder before she deleted them. He'd been waiting. Watching. For 4 years. The blackmailer wasn't a hacker. It was someone we'd forgotten. And now he had leverage I couldn't buy back. Part 3. The offer I couldn't refuse. Cameron emailed me directly 2 days after I learned he was behind the blackmail. No burner account this time. His real name, a Gmail address with his face in the thumbnail. Older, sharper than I remembered. Black turtleneck, a half smile that said he knew exactly what he was doing. Subject line: We should talk. Hi, Daniel. Hope your nerves have recovered. That little crypto withdrawal looked like it hurt. Let's grab coffee. No drama, no police. Just a conversation between old friends. See, my heart was still pounding by the time I clicked out. But I knew what this was. This wasn't about money anymore. This was about control. We met at a cafe in Lower Haight, just a few blocks from where I used to rent that basement apartment with no windows and a ceiling fan that sounded like a dying bird. He looked taller now. Maybe it was just confidence. His hair was shorter, his clothes slicker, Patagonia vest, designer sneakers, Silicon Valley's unofficial uniform. I took the seat across from him and didn't speak. He smiled. You got rich, he said. I got patient. I stayed silent. I could have taken you down back then, you know, he added, stirring his iced latte with surgical precision. When it was just fake wireframes and vaporware. But I figured, I'll wait. let you build your empire. And then blackmail me, I finally said. Think of it as retroactive equity. He laid it all out flat and easy. He wanted in. Not as a quiet shareholder, not as an apology bonus. He wanted a seat at the table, executive title, 7-figure salary, a 5% stake in the company, retroactively dated from our Series A. I was there at the beginning, he said. I helped build the illusion. I deserve the reward. You weren't. Don't lie, he snapped. The smile vanished. I was in that room when you faked the demo. I helped build the shell app you used to trick investors. I've got everything. He slid a flash drive across the table. Give this to the board and watch your legacy collapse. The thing is, I believed him. I remembered the scripts, the fake notifications we'd timed during product walkthroughs. I remembered asking Cameron if he could fake the back-end latency to make it feel real. He did it without blinking. But I also remembered why he left. He called us delusional, said we were going to get people hurt. I guess he decided it was better to hurt us first. When I told Casey, she lost it. She screamed so loud the security guard outside my building came up to check on us. You want to give him a title? After what he pulled? I tried to calm her. He's not going away. This isn't about the money anymore. It's ego, legacy. Casey shook her head, pacing in frantic circles. He's not one of us. He didn't bleed for this. I knew what she meant. We hadn't just risked our reputations. We'd risked jail. We'd burned relationships. We'd buried every part of ourselves that still believed in truth. And for what? $1 billion valuation. A product that now, ironically, did work. But Cameron didn't care about that. He wanted to be part of the lie that became real. The board didn't know. The public didn't know. Only a few trusted engineers at the company even remembered Cameron's name, and those who did thought he'd been an intern who ghosted on a nervous breakdown. He was a ghost in the machine, and now he wanted resurrection. That night, I stayed up in my office, pacing between floor-to-ceiling windows and a whiskey glass that wouldn't stay full. What was the bigger sin? Letting a blackmailer into my company? Or risking everything to keep him out? At 2 a.m., I emailed Cameron. You'll get your seat, but you stay quiet. Forever. No interviews, no TED Talks, one whisper, and your equity's gone. He replied 2 minutes later. Send the paperwork. Looking forward to the all hands. The next month was a blur. We spun a story for the team. Cameron had been a silent advisor, instrumental in our early ideation phase, and was now coming on full-time. Some of the senior engineers blinked, recognizing the name. Most didn't care. The valuation had just ticked past $2.1 billion. We'd landed a major contract with a defense logistics firm. Everyone was getting rich. No one asked questions. Not even when Cameron walked into his first meeting and sat next to me like he'd always been there. But something shifted after that. It was subtle at first. Comments during board meetings. Questions about vision. Redirecting strategy docs. Casey noticed it too. He's not just trying to be part of the ride, she said. He wants the wheel. I shrugged it off. He's just trying to prove himself. But deep down, I knew. Cameron didn't just want in. He wanted ownership. The worst part? He was good. Really good. In 3 months, he rebuilt our onboarding flow and cut user drop-off by 40%. He spearheaded a new product feature that netted us a 6-figure contract with a fintech startup. Investors loved him. The team started going to him instead of me. The press started asking about him. He gave no interviews, just like I asked. But his silence made him more mysterious, more powerful. He was building something, and I didn't know what. Then, one night, I caught him in my office. It was past midnight. I'd come back from my laptop. He didn't hear me at first. He was going through my drawers, reading papers, my old notebooks, a legal pad I used to scribble pitch ideas on. I stepped into the light. He froze. Neither of us said anything for a moment. Finally, he smiled. "Old habits die hard," he said, calmly closing the drawer. "What are you looking for?" I asked. He tilted his head. "Evidence. Or maybe inspiration. Hard to tell sometimes." I stood there, jaw clenched. He walked past me slowly. Right before he left the office, he said, "You lied better than most. That's why you succeeded. But lies don't retire, Daniel. They rot." That night I barely slept. I knew then I hadn't bought silence. I'd bought a countdown, and it was still ticking. Final part. I burned the ladder I climbed up on. The email came in the middle of the night. Subject line, "We both know how this started." No body, no attachments, just those words. I stared at the screen, heart in my throat. The sender's address was random gibberish, a Proton Mail burner. But I knew who it was. Cameron. I hadn't heard from him in over a year. Not since we orchestrated his exit, not since I buried him with a fake project and a very real internal security violation. The last thing he said to me in person was, "You think you're safe because you're louder." Turns out he wasn't wrong. The next day, the Wired article dropped. Not a fluff piece, not a takedown either. Just a precise scalpel cutting right through the narrative we'd spent years building. "The demo that built a unicorn" was the headline. The author never said the product was fake. She never accused us of fraud, but she did mention how our first investor demo heavily relied on simulations, how the founders navigated early technical gaps with unconventional storytelling. Unconventional storytelling. That was her euphemism for bullshit. And every investor in Silicon Valley knew exactly what it meant. The calls started pouring in, not angry ones, worse, cautious ones. "Hey Daniel, saw the article, great read. Just wanted to ask, how much of that is accurate?" They didn't care about the truth. They just wanted to know how exposed they were. Our CFO called an emergency meeting. Legal joined. Casey, usually ice cold under pressure, looked rattled. "This doesn't mean anything," I said, trying to steady the room. "We never lied. We simulated. There's a difference." Claire, our CTO, stared at me like she didn't know who I was anymore. "You said it was a working prototype," she whispered. "It functioned." "No, it didn't. You lied, and I backed you up because I thought it was temporary. But it wasn't. It was the business." Casey didn't say a word during the whole meeting, but afterward, she pulled me into her office and shut the door. "Did you leak it?" I froze. "No. Did you?" She shook her head, then smiled, tight-lipped. "Doesn't matter. The illusion's gone." And she was right. Our valuation dropped 17% in a week. One of our big enterprise clients paused their contract. Internally, half the engineering team wanted out. They'd built something real, but it didn't matter anymore, because the origin story, the myth we sold, was tainted. You can fix a product, you can't fix a reputation. Cameron wasn't coming back for revenge. He already got it. All he had to do was whisper the truth and walk away. 2 weeks later, I saw him. He was sitting alone at a coffee shop downtown, just like the first time. Same black coat, Same smug posture. I almost walked past him. Almost. But I didn't. I sat down across from him. Didn't even say hello. He didn't look up from his drink. "You're not here to apologize," he said. "No." "Then why?" "Because I want to understand something." Finally, he looked at me. His eyes weren't angry, just tired. "You built an empire on a lie," he said. "And when I tried to correct the record, you set me on fire for it. You threatened me. I warned you." There was a long silence. I could feel my heart pounding in my throat. "I did what I had to do," I said. "So did I," he replied. He stood up, left $5 on the table, and walked out. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the first pitch deck, the fake backend, the dummy UI, how we practiced syncing our demo clicks to make it look seamless. At the time, it felt like survival. Now, it felt like the origin story of a curse. 3 months later, I resigned. I told the board I wanted to pursue new ventures. They gave me a generous exit package. Everyone smiled and clapped and called it a new chapter. They didn't know that I'd already burned my old journals. The one where I kept the original sketches, the lies, the ledger of manipulated data. I erased everything but the memory. People always ask me now, would you do it again? Would I lie to get that first million? Would I fake it, pitch it, sell it like gospel? Would I risk my partner, my team, my soul? The answer is complicated. The truth is simple. I climbed a ladder made of matchsticks, and when I got to the top, I lit it on fire. Now I'm sitting in the ashes, holding a check with more zeros than I ever dreamed of, and no one trusts me. Money's not the end of the story. It's the beginning of a question. What's the price of getting everything you wanted when you no longer recognize who you are? Because here's the truth they don't tell you at networking events, in startup podcasts, in the glossy success stories. Success can rot from the inside. You start with ambition, you paint it as hustle, then you blur a few lines. You call it vision. And before long, the version of you in interviews and Forbes profiles is a cartoon drawn in someone else's ink. I used to think the worst thing that could happen was failure, but now I know better. The worst thing is winning on a lie, and having to live with the kind of silence that money can't fill. I still get calls, offers, people who want me to advise, invest, keynote. They see me as a maverick, a rebel, a survivor of the chaos. But what they don't know is that every time I look in the mirror, I see Cameron. Not the man, but the moment I decided to shove him off the boat to keep it afloat. And I wonder if he still wakes up angry, or if he sleeps better now that the truth finally got oxygen. I don't envy him, but I think he won, because he walked away with his soul intact, and I cashed out with a legacy soaked in smoke. It turned out to be an interesting story. Who knew that this would happen? We take all the stories from the Reddit platform. If you want to see even more stories, then go to my channel and subscribe. I have many such real stories. I will be glad to have your subscription. We will see each other again, my friend. Oh, and I forgot to say, Turn on the bell and you'll see my video first right away. I don't want to take up your time any longer. Good luck, bro.